Hi everyone, I'm Ketki and today I'll be presenting Jerry. Jerry is a multi-tenant AI agent workflow builder designed for secure step-by-step automation pipelines. So the core stack that I've used to build Jerry is Next.js 16 app router. Then we have Nhost, which is basically PostgreSQL database. Then we have Hasura v2 GraphQL, and we are also using the Gemini 3.5 Flash API. So Jerry is engineered around two core principles. One is the defense in-depth security, and the second is the cloud portable agility. A primary reason for me to choose Hasura and Nhost was to generate instant and type-safe GraphQL APIs over PostgreSQL DB. So we also have two distinct layers of security. One is the database row-level security, which we also call as RLS, and second is the Hasura metadata permission rules. Now let's look at the workflow builder in Jerry. So automation pipelines in Jerry are constructed sequentially using 8 modular steps. To show that, I'll try to create a demo workflow for us. So let's call it test. We can add a description for this, and we have 8 modular steps for the same. So we have the LLM call step. This is powered by Gemini and it's used to interpolate dynamic prompt variables. The second one is the HTTP request. This is primarily for making outbound REST calls to external APIs. Then we have conditional branches. This dynamically routes execution using custom JavaScript expressions. Like for example, parsed.score is greater than 70. So its job basically is to evaluate a condition and pass it along to the true or false gate. Then we have the approval gate. An approval gate pauses execution in DB state until a human manager approves or rejects it. Then we have DB writes and notifications. I'll explain that together. So this is primarily used for persisting data or logging real-time alerts. Then we have WhatsApp messages. So this is used to dispatch direct outbound messages via our WhatsApp API. Lastly, we have our data transformer step. This is used for reformatting, cleaning, or mapping LLM outputs with lightweight JavaScript snippets. Before we actually get started with the process of creation of a new workflow or running it, I'd like to show you what we can do. As an owner, I also have the rights to delete an existing workflow, or I can also edit an existing workflow. So that is possible only by the owner. The editor does not have the rights to delete a certain workflow. Sure, they can edit the workflow, that is allowed. Now we can add a new element and we can save the workflow as an editor or as an owner. I, however, as an editor, do not have any authority to delete an existing workflow. That is not allowed as an editor, but you can do it as the owner. So primarily there are two user types. One is the owner and the second is the editor. So let's work as an editor for now, and I'm going to try and create a new workflow and show you how the process goes. So firstly, it asks us to give a name to our new workflow. So for now, let's just write it as test and say demo workflow. This description is optional. Now let's try building the actual workflow. I'm going to have say an LLM call step. Then maybe we can have a conditional branch step. Then maybe an approval gate, and let's say an HTTP request. Okay, so that is our new workflow and I'm going to create it. These are just demo snippets provided, so you can click on edit workflow and say if I want my branching condition to be something different, so let's say I can make it to 60 or rewrite the condition entirely. So all of this can be done. Once I'm done with the editing part, I can either save the changes or go back to my main screen. And I'm going to trigger a run. So since we are in the editor step, the approval gate requires manager approval. It's going to inform us about the same. So I'm going to trigger a run right now. So as we can see, the call step was completed, the branch step was completed, and the gate step, which is the approval gate step, is awaiting approval. And we as an editor cannot approve or reject a certain request. The owner has to do that. So for now, I'm gonna switch my role. This will obviously not be a toggle like that in production setup. We are going to have specific logins. So let's run the test workflow again. Now as an owner, I should be able to approve or reject that request. So say I approve it. Yeah, so since I approved it, then the run was able to succeed, and this change is reflected in the editor dashboard as well and in the owner dashboard. So yeah, that was the process of creation of workflow and running the workflow. You can see the recent runs in the runs tab. So you can see all the runs, the failed ones and the completed ones, and you can also view the details of that run, the metadata. Everything is displayed over here in a detailed manner. Apart from that, so if you look at the triggers part here, so we had a manual trigger and workflows that use webhooks. For example, the AI lead enricher workflow had a webhook. So we can see the listed triggers in this section. We can see all the recent runs that were carried out on this workflow. And yeah, that was all for the workflow section. Apart from that, let's look at the workplace settings section. So in the workplace settings section, we can make changes to the organization name. So for example, if I want to call it Alpha Corporation, I'm gonna just save my changes. All of this data does get changed and reflected in our DB as well. So as you can see, the name changed in the toggle as well. So this is another implementation that we have. We can incorporate multiple organizations as well here. So if you see, along with role-based access, which is the editor and the owner roles, we also have multi-tenant isolation set up here. So the workflows created for Alpha Corporation won't be reflected in some other corporation's dashboard. So yeah, the multi-tenant isolation is also present. We support complete workflow lifecycle management. User can edit workflows, to update steps, or click delete workflows, to execute a safe cascading deletion of associated runs and steps. So all of that is implemented. Every change that we implement in the workplace settings is 100% dynamic. I can update names, click on save, and it mutates our tables as well. RLS row level security is enforced. So even if an API request attempts to query data without an organization ID filter, Postgres will return 0 rows for unauthorized tenants. So that security is also in place. So if you ask me why I implemented preceded roles, as in why I had the owner and editor roles as preceded values or as preceded user values. So I didn't want to force evaluators or the people who are looking at this project to navigate tedious sign-up forms and email verification flows. So my main concept was about designing this whole project. So all of these are external factors, and this can be implemented very easily in the setup. To wrap it up, I just want to highlight a few key control plane design decisions that I've made while designing this project. The first is the vendor agnostic execution engine. So instead of locking our engine into a proprietary cloud queue provider, step execution is handled via serverless API routes. For example, I have the trigger workflow run call or the approve step call. This keeps the secret keys hidden on the server while keeping the engine cloud portable and vendor agnostic again. So when I say vendor, I refer to the corporations, obviously. Then we have the control plane separation. So administrative tasks like provisioning new user identities or roles, or even registering a new organization tenant or registering a new user, belong in secure database control plane layers rather than cluttering the end user UI dashboard. So for users to register a new user or a tenant, users just have to run a simple SQL query, and once the database is updated, then the users will also reflect on the dashboard. All of these queries are documented cleanly in my repositories admin queries.sql file, which you can find once you visit the GitHub repository. I've also tried to document every single instruction or command that is required to set this project up in my README, so do give that a look. Thank you so much for reviewing Jerry. I welcome all feedbacks. Let me know how you found this project. If you face any problems regarding setting Jerry up in your local device, feel free to leave comments and let me know what issue you are facing, or you can send me a DM on Twitter. Anything works. Goodbye for now.